And our guest today is Alister Fair. Alister, how you doing today?
Doing good, Josh. How about you, man?
Really good, really good. The first question I have for you is, how did you get into the business?
Well, I grew up at the local gardens watching wrestling and until I hit the teenage years, and then I kind of grew out of it, could care less about it. My cousin Manslaughter was working for a company called Top Rope Wrestling Federation in Jeffersonville in some bingo hall. And so I started going over with him and bumping around a little bit. He took me to the IWA Mid-South when it was on Dixie Highway at the Kmart building. And something hit, and I was like, that's what I want to do. You know, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Of course, Ian wouldn't even talk to me at the time. I had very little training. He wouldn't even look at me twice. So Manslaughter eventually went to BBW. And his manager at the time was Jim Chadwick, Father Fear's favorite person. Well, Chadwick got hurt at his shoot job. So we went to Joe and asked Joe if I could be his manager. So I managed him for about a month. Went to Joe, pretty much begged him to get me trained and let me train. So he stuck me with Doug Vines and trained me, which Doug literally beat the hell out of me, 6 nights a week. That's the rest is history. It was supposed to be one weekend, and I've been doing it 17 years.
What attracted you to hardcore wrestling?
It was out of the norm. We had seen Memphis style wrestling for so many years, and to me, it got boring. And when I seen Ian and Pondo do fans bring the weapons, I knew right then and there. Be honest with you, it even started before that. Mick Foley was at the Gardens years ago with USWA. He was wrestling Dutch Mantel, and he did the elbow drop off the balcony through the sound table in the entryway. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. And of course, like I said, I kind of grew out of wrestling and got more into partying and the girls and all that. So when I actually got into the business, it was purely by accident. It's doing a favor for Manslaughter. It was supposed to be, like I said, one weekend, and it grew into 17 years.
What famous workers have you worked with?
Of course, Tracy Smothers. I've learned so much from Tracy. Worked with Terry Funk. Did a spot with Sabu. I like to think all the guys I wrestled were famous, especially on the independent scene. Corbin Robinson, Too Tough Tony. To me, them guys they're all famous, man. So, I mean, not to sound like an idiot or be soft or anything. I say all them guys are famous to me.
What is your best and worst memory in wrestling?
Best memory, I think. My best memory, me and Too Tough Tony, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 2001 Hardcore Cup. We did a bed of nails match, and for some reason they stuck CM Punk and Dave Prazak at ringside with me. So famous people I worked with there again, CM Punk. CM Punk was my manager. Beat that with me. Yeah. So that's my best memory. My worst memory was probably my first match at BBW. My very first match was a BBW title match against Crusher Bones, and he called a double clothesline, and it was a train wreck. Crusher Bones is horrible anyway, but we collided in the middle of the ring. It was just horrible. My first match was my worst memory, I have to say.
Who are some of your favorite people in the business?
Tracy Smothers, Simon Says, Juicy Jimmy. I like Juicy Jimmy. Fucking bag, but I like him. Jimmy's a likable guy, man. Father Fear, I created a monster there. I ain't gonna go into that, but just say I created a monster. Love Father Fear. Known him 30 years probably. Great guy. Biggest asshole ever lived, but great guy. Man, there's so many. I've met so many great people in this business that it's hard to pick out a group of them.
What was your worst injury?
IWA Mid-South, working the neck roll butcher. Well, I wasn't working neck roll butcher. I was doing a run-in, and I slid through under the bottom rope, and there was a busted light tube, and it cut my wrist, cut all the ligaments and tendons in my wrist, put me out for about 6 months, reconstructive surgery. Just something real simple. Put me out for a long time. That was the worst injury.
What wrestlers did you follow growing up?
Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler was probably my favorite. Growing up in Mid-South, going to the Gardens, Jerry Lawler was like Superman to the kids in that area. Then when the WWE, when we finally got introduced to WWE, because we were poor kids, didn't have cable or nothing, so when I first got introduced to WWE, Jake the Snake Roberts was probably my all-time favorite, and he probably still is. Between him and Shawn Michaels I know coming from a hardcore guy, it's weird, but to me, Shawn Michaels is probably one of the best workers, entertainers to ever step in a ring. And people might disagree with that, but I don't care. That's my opinion.
What is your favorite match of all time?
Favorite match that I've had, or just in general?
In general.
Man, believe it or not, I'm gonna have to say Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam. That was probably my favorite match. That was a wrestling clinic from start to finish.
So who did you say trained you?
Dangerous Doug Vines. He was one of the original barroom brawlers from USWA. Old grumpy guy, just kind of. I think he's actually still working. He just got to the point where he hated the business and hated what it was becoming. And training with him was not fun. He taught me the hard way. I learned respect by getting it knocked into me. But everything he did just made me stronger. What don't kill you makes you stronger. It was funny because Del Bass went to Joe Bailey and said, that kid should never get in the ring again. He's untrainable. And now Del Bass is probably one of my biggest fans.
Yeah. How did the name Dark Prince of Hardcore come around?
That I kind of come up with. Alister Fear was Doug Gilbert's idea. When I first started, it was Alister Fiend. And some kind of crazy crackhead gimmick. Had a shirt on that says 666 motherfucker. And we was in Georgetown, Kentucky, and Doug Gilbert called me off to the side and said, "Kid, that gimmick's killing you." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "That devil stuff scares people off, man." He said, "What are you into?" And I said, "Vampires." I said, "I love vampires." He said, "Do a vampire gimmick." And I was like, "What about Gangrel?" And he said, "Fuck Gangrel." Yeah. Which I was always a Gangrel. I like Gangrel as my gimmick, and the Dark Prince of Hardcore came along later. Ian and Pondo was calling herself the King of Hardcore. And I'm like, well, shit. I guess I'll be the Dark Prince of Hardcore. Kind of liked it, stuck with it.
What guys in the business do you dislike?
There's a few. Number one on my list that I don't like is probably Dub C, Christian Skyfire. The fat backyard, green teeth, nasty, non-working motherfucker. And I hear now he's running his own company. How does a guy like Dub C run his own company? And his partner ain't much better than he is, So you got two guys that should be buying a ticket running a wrestling show. Other than that, let me see, there's a few. Crusher Bones. Don't like Crusher Bones. Mitch Ryder, really don't care much about Mitch Ryder, but that's, Mitch says I stole this company from him. No, I got this company because Mitch was paying himself $75 to sit at home. And when Mark Acker got wind of that, it was done. They were actually shutting the company down, and Brian Acker and Mitch Ryder all thought that I went to Mark begging for it, which is the furthest thing from the truth. I didn't beg for his company. I never wanted this job. But it was either somebody take this job that cared about this company or watch it get shut down. So, and I think I've done a pretty good job. Not just me, the guys that work for me, work with me. They don't work for me, they work with me. So I think it's a group effort. The reason CCW is still here. But them are my guys. Kristen Skyfire, Cage Cutler, Mitch Ryder, Crusher Bones.
What's your thoughts on In Rotten?
Hey, can you guys hold that for just a second? In Rotten. Well, this is I'm glad you asked me that because I have heard for the last 3 years how In Rotten killed J.C. Bailey. I've heard how it was the In's fault because he sold him pills or paid him in pills. I'm going to say this. JC was a good friend of mine, and I'm going to get heat for this, and I don't care. JC killed JC. Ian didn't kill JC. He paid him in pills. Ian might have a reputation of not paying guys. I mean, he never paid me enough not to not pay me, but he might have a reputation. He might be a lot of things, but In Rotten is, I heard Jimmy say it, the cockroach of wrestling. You can't kill him out. He's always going to be here. And the IWA, as long as it's open, will always be a top company. So, I mean, personally, In Rotten helped me out in this business more than most people could imagine. As a person, I love John. And as a promoter, like I said, he never paid me enough not to pay me, but there's guys out there he didn't pay. They got heat with him. That's their beef. Like Mickey Knuckles and him. I told Mickey, I'm not going to hate Ian just because you hate him. So, and to me, Ian's all right in my book. I mean, rest of so Joe Bailey paid me in pills before. So does that make him a killer? That people didn't get paid with pain pills for years, man. Just because JC passed away, they made a big deal out of it.
What's it like running CCW?
Pain in the ass. It is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And to explain why that is because all the years this company's been open, they've had a reputation of not paying the guys. You drive all the way down here, you get stiffed on your money. Their talent roster's always never really been good. I mean, there's been some good workers here, Chuck Taylor and them guys, but so it's taken me a while to get guys to trust it enough to come back down here. This town is so unpredictable to run a show in. I mean, one week we could have 100 people, and the next month we have 48 people. It's tough. I got a lot. I mean, the Ackers stand behind me a lot, so it's just a pain in the ass. Let's leave it at that. I enjoy it, but it's still a pain in the ass.
What do you think is the future of CCW?
I hope it's nothing but good. It's still a work in progress, and I just keep bringing in better workers and trying to outdo the last show, and I hope to see it keep going. I mean, that's you can never count on tomorrow, man, because you never know what's going to happen. But I hope to see it to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm going to work my ass off to do that.
How do you feel about the WWE and TNA product currently?
I think they've lost the wrestler aspect of it. I think it's entertainment, strictly. I mean, the guys are so unbelievable now. I mean, when you can see Triple H talking clearly, you can sit there and read his lips. Well, hell, you don't have to read his lips. You can hear him half the time. I think they've totally lost the wrestling aspect of it. Now it's entertainment. I think Kevin Dunn got his way. TNA, I care less about. I don't. It's to me, TNA is right there with OVW. It's
What was your bloodiest match?
Bloodiest match. God, there's been so many of them. Probably me and Simon had some bloody matches. Me and Jimmy, me and Corporal. I'd say probably me and Tony's bedded nails match was the bloodiest match I ever
Who was one guy you never got to work with that you wanted to, but you didn't get to? If there is any.
Oh man, God, that's hard. I think. Well, it would have been Crap Sabu was always one of my favorite, but that would have been a crappy match because I couldn't have stayed with him. Raven, I would love to work Raven. I would love to work Foley.
What would you tell young guys wanting to get into wrestling?
If it's your dream, just work hard. Don't let nobody tell you can't do it. Learn how to work. Get trained by somebody that can teach you how to work. You got guys like Dubsy and Cage Cutler training people who, like I said, in my opinion, should be buying a ticket themselves. That's my advice to that, man, is if it's your dream, don't let nobody tell you can't do it. Just do it the right way.
What changes do the indies need to be more successful?
Oh, wow. This is a heat question. These guys stop booking these backyarders that come in and take their jeans off and put jeans on to go to the ring. Just because they're free or they're $10 don't make it ain't enough to killing the show. Kentucky. My opinion is the athletic commission killed it, but they could have saved wrestling 10 years ago, but they were so greedy for that $20 license fee that they would license anybody. The indies, man, something's got to happen, or these promoters need to pull together and work as a unit, which has never happened. But then you got these groups like Vex Wrestling. I mean, they're killing the indies because people pay $10 to go see one of their shows, and they see a bunch of backyarders who can't work a lick, and they just wasted $10. So what makes them want to go to the wrestling show down the street that has good workers on it? My opinion is, if we want to save the indies, we got to quit using this garbage. That's the bottom line. I mean, these guys are running shows that have no business even in the business. I mean, Cage, I used to think Cage was all right, but his ego is so big that, he goes down there for Mike Porter, lets Mike Porter grease him up. And for nothing, he drives to Nashville for nothing, then he thinks he's a star. Guys like him are killing the indies. That's my opinion on that.
What made you want to retire?
My wife made me. No, really, man. Here last year, I cracked my back pretty good. It's just a time, man. I'm 41, and if I'm running the show, there's no need for me to be wrestling on it. That's why Dusty Rhodes got so much heat in this business, because he was the booker. He was the booker and a wrestler, and he was always over.
What do you miss most about being in the ring?
The pop. The reaction of the fans, whether it's good or bad. I love being a heel. That's, it's easier to make people hate you than make them love you.
Who's the worst promoter you've worked for?
Mitch Ryder, Bobo Brazil Jr., Clyde Richardson. I mean, wow. There have been some bad ones over the years, man. There's been some pretty bad ones. Okay. There's 1 second, man.
You're fine.
Turn the lights on. Just leave it on the table right there. Turn the lights on. I'm sorry, I didn't know what you were talking about.
Yeah, showtime.
Yeah, turn the lights on and go with it. Y'all can breathe without me for 10 minutes, especially you, old man. All right. Sorry about that.
Is there any one person that helped your career out more than any?
Enrod. And took me places and I'll always be grateful for Joe Bailey for giving me that start. But all he did was give me the stepping stone to make it to IWA, and the IWA is where I made what little bit of name I got. And I say Enrod, he taught me a lot about the in-ring and out-of-ring aspect of it. And I wouldn't be able to do this running show now if it wasn't for Joe Bailey or Ian Rodman. Because when I was young, I stayed glued to Joe's hip and watched how he promoted. So, I mean, both of them guys, but Ian Rodman, he helped me more than anybody, I think.
What's your thoughts on Father Fear?
The grouchiest old son of a bitch I ever lived. I love the guy, man. I tell you what, man, there's only one Father Fear, and in my opinion, next to the Judge, he's the best manager in the independent scene, and I'm not gonna break kayfabe on him on this, but just put it this way: next to the Judge, he's the best in the independents. Just don't give him a mic and tell him to be nice, because he's gonna offend somebody. There's no doubt about it.
How do you want your career to be remembered?
Just as a guy that went out there and give it everything, man. I never took the easy road. I've heard rumors that I just mail it in, just go out and go through the motions. I like to think of myself as a guy that it didn't matter if it was 2 or 200. I give the same performance. I give it my all every time I went out there. Sometimes it wasn't as good as others. Near the end, that was one of the factors that made me want it to be over. Is I knew that I couldn't give the fans what I had given 5 years before, and like I said, then when I took over the company, I didn't want to be an active wrestler and the booker, So I just want people to know that I give 100% every time I went out there.
Well, Alister, I appreciate you coming on and doing this interview. Is there any last words or anything you want to say to your fans?
Support independent wrestling. Yeah. Keep it alive, man. We need all the support we can get. And if you want to be a wrestler and that's your dream, just do it the right way and never half-ass it. Just give it all you got, 100% all the time. And that's about that.
Thanks, Alister, again.
All right, man. Appreciate it, brother.
No problem. Anytime.
All right, thank you.